good.
I have a note here that says we're streaming live now on YouTube, Liz.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it looks like it worked.
Okay. Thank you. Whew. Okay. Okay. So whenever you want to start the council, Mike, we're good to go.
Okay, first we have boards and commissions reports. Brian, do you have anything?
I do not.
William?
Stand by, Michael.
Pardon me, Bill? Okay, you have nothing?
Ron, stand by.
Maureen?
Nothing.
Sarah?
So I did communicate with the school board this morning. Just a little bit of update for what's going on in the schools. Obviously, by governor's order, the schools are currently closed and they will continue to be closed through at the earliest May 1st. The school district is awaiting to see the state's advice as to how to proceed after that. For those of you like me who have kids in the Fairview Park system, the schools may be closed, but they are still operating, although it is in a very different way than we are used to. All the students do have access for e-learning. How well that's going, you know, it depends family to family. Some days better than others in my own household. But I did just want to make a little bit of a reminder. We got a couple of questions and I've been diverting them back toward the school board. Just a little bit of a reminder that the Fairview Park schools and the Fairview Park City are two very different entities. And while we do cooperate on a large number of projects, we've gotten some questions about their finances and how they're going to operate the daycare center and a couple of other things. And those questions are best directed back to the school board. So I've been working to direct our residents into discussions with them, because obviously we do work in conjunction, but we are also very separate. So fingers crossed, we will go back to school in May. I know my kiddos are dying to, but right now it's really just a waiting game.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Bridget, do you have anything for boards and commissions?
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that the Citizen of the Year nomination process has been postponed. There will be a meeting in July when they will take up discussions, but the dinner has been postponed as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Greg, do you have anything for boards and commissions?
I do not.
Thank you. Roundtable. Brian, do you have anything for roundtable?
Nothing too urgent, I don't think. I know, Walt, I sent you an email over the weekend for something in our neighborhood, but you know, you can get back to me offline if that's easier for that too. So other than that, I am good.
Thank you. Bill, do you have anything for roundtable?
Nothing, Mike.
Maureen, do you have anything for roundtable?
But I guess since Walt is on, you know, the issue with a guy in our neighborhood getting multiple complaints about his garbage can and other things just being left out. How do I mean, this man has left it out for a long time. And how do I go after when he's saying, well, lots of people's garbage cans are out? How do I handle that if he's just kind of ignoring me?
Have we talked to him?
Yes.
If it's what I'm thinking of, we've sent him a notice most recently last week. I don't know if the garbage cans are still out.
Yeah, they are. And I talked to him personally. And I know you said the consequence is really just to press charge. But I know that the neighbor doing so said they're not looking to take a person to court over their garbage cans. But when people just outright don't, you know, do what you ask them, where do we go from there?
That is really my only recourse per our code, chapter, the penalty's 99. I mean, if it's on a tree lawn, then we could do something with our police. But as far as I go, it's just prosecutor in court, record of court.
Okay. All right, I'll just try and politely appeal to him again and again.
Well, let's talk about that tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Is that all, Maureen?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, do you have anything for roundtable?
Just a couple things. So, Walt, I'll be giving you a call tomorrow on a furnace issue. We have a resident who is not happy with how his neighbor has installed his furnace, and I just wanted to pick your brain about it. I've also been getting some complaints about the streets, some complaints about rubbish removal, which I hope we'll talk about in our updates later. I think it's wonderful that all of our residents are home and can finally point out to us all of the things that are bugging them as they walk the streets 3 and 6 miles a day. But luckily, most of it has been very minor and easily solved, some without even calls to the city. So that's been great.
Thanks, Sarah. Bridget, do you have anything for roundtable?
I do. Thanks, Mike. First, I want to thank you, Liz, for putting this together. This is working well so far, so thank you very much. I would like to address the football field. I went by it again this afternoon around 5:30, and there were about 10 people on there. Our field needs to be locked. Our Gemini Center is closed. There's tape around our play equipment. There's tape around our basketball courts. We should not be allowing a public space for people. We're just inviting people to go there and have group activities. They're playing with soccer balls. They're playing with footballs. The CVC is saying that COVID can travel 13 feet. So if you have people sweating, it's traveling 13 feet, it's getting on the turf, it's getting on shoes, it's getting on shoelaces, and all we're doing is offering a prime area to spread this very serious, very deadly disease. I see these affected people every day at work. They are seriously sick. This is very serious, and I think that we need to lock down this field. People are running the stairs, they're touching the railing. That stays there for days if they are asymptomatic and don't know that they're positive. We are just offering an area to spread disease, and I really think we need to shut it down.
To echo that, Bridget, I know I received a complaint via email about the same thing with some very disturbing how close people are together
Yes.
in those photos. So I guess, Mary, do you have any comments on that?
I do. I have mixed emotions. I completely agree, and I have, family in healthcare too. So I understand how important of an issue this is. Unfortunately, we expect people to do the right thing, and sometimes they don't. And I think that's what we're seeing here in this point. I know that we want people to be able to walk the track because we do encourage them to exercise. At the same point in time, if they're taking advantage of and doing the wrong thing, that is actually something that we had talked about in our meeting this morning, where we need to call the police. So I do have very mixed emotions about it in both ways.
Calling the police, in my opinion, first of all, that's a waste of services, of resources. And second of all, we're putting the police officer's life in danger, because if that person is asymptomatic and talking to the police, it travels person to person so easily that putting our police force in danger by going up there constantly to handle this situation when we can so easily just lock it down. The governor says that we don't have to do the social distancing anymore. The governor is doing a great job in trying to help us flatten this curve, and by keeping this open, we're not doing it. And people are not abiding by it. If you're not abiding by it in your own backyard, then take your life in your own hands. But by going up there, you're putting the community in jeopardy.
There's going to be some changes up there. And if people don't do what they're supposed to, it's going to be locked out. I've talked to a number of residents who like using the track, like Mary said, and we get the complaints we hear about are after the fact. I've encouraged people to call the police if they feel there's a problem. I understand your concern, Bridget, about the police being exposed. It's my belief that if the police arrive, people are going to disperse. We're going to encourage people to contact the police. And, and if people don't abide by the rules, it's going to be closed down.
Well, what's the difference? People also enjoy using the playground equipment and the basketball courts, but we've taped all that off.
Because there's a lot more space between playground equipment and a track and a field and a stadium. And that's.
But if you're running next, if you're on the track, two people running on a track, running next to each other, you're sweating. That sweat is going off of your body, and then it's spreading faster, and then you're
Breathing heavily.
breathing faster.
I know Rocky River's track is closed. What are the rest of the cities around us doing?
River, Strongsville, Brunswick, and Nordonia are all completely locked.
Yeah, people can walk anywhere. I mean, they can walk on site. There's lots of options to walk. What becomes attractive is this open field and, things such as that. If we don't shut it off, we're going to keep attracting people. And the police, I would imagine it would become annoying to keep running up there when they could be doing other things.
Well, again, there's a lot of seniors who like using it. It's easier on their body. They may not feel stable walking the sidewalks. Most of the people who I've talked to are in that class, and they've asked that it be, remain open. So we're going to give this, again, people seem to be more interested in posting these problems on Facebook than calling the police to come and have them disperse. And, the chief can weigh in if he'd like about what his plans, what he's talked to his officers about how to handle any future complaints.
What I'm seeing here is people putting stuff on Facebook and they don't let us know. We've only received one call up at the high school, period, in the whole time that this has been going on. And as far as sweat is not a respiratory droplet, so I don't really know that. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Something happened to my screen, but
Same here.
Took over.
COVID is transmitted by sweat.
that is not what I've heard, but I'll
send you
but how is it any different than someone walking on a sidewalk then, as
It's
opposed
not.
to walking on the track?
It's not, if I walk next to you on a sidewalk and I'm sweating and my sweat gets on you and I'm positive, I have just exposed you and you are likely going to get it. It's
Well,
not,
the only way you would get it
that's
though
why
is
like
if-
Paris, France, you're not allowed to exercise outside at all. You're not allowed to jog, run, or anything in Paris anymore. So other countries have taken this very seriously.
Do we have signage at the field? I'll be honest, my husband.
We're going to have it. We're going to have signage tomorrow. We're
Okay, so
having
there will
signs
be
put up.
signage added.
Yes.
So
there'll be
that's
signage
somewhat
set
of a
up.
warning to
Yes.
say, take it seriously, or this is gonna close. I mean, do we set the signage? I mean, I'm
Forcing people to
personally not a fan of giving people a place to gather.
Right.
Stop it. But if we think we can change and curb behavior, I'm willing to give that a try, but we really need to make it clear this is not the kind of behavior we want to be seeing. And is there a way to monitor that? I mean, Mary, do you have somebody who can, drive past there a couple times this week and really look and see? And if there's people up there doing things they're not supposed to, call Chief Upperman?
Well,
I think that we can, we do have the ability to take a look. I know that Bob has kind of kept an eye out on the field. I try to get past it once or twice a day myself and take a look what's going on there. We were a really small staff right now, so it's not easy, but we can do it. The other thing that I am thinking as we're having this whole conversation is we also have a walking track up at Bolton Park with a lot of space in the middle where people can basically do the same thing that they're doing on the field. And Nelson Rust too. We also have a track up there, you know, basically a path with walking stations, you know, with exercise stations up there actually also.
Are those things being disinfected in any way, or at the track, are the bleacher handrails being disinfected? Because as people run the bleachers and touch the handles or sweat onto them, then they're exposing the community. So how are we disinfecting these things?
That would be correct. And our staff has not been out there, so we would need to send someone out there.
So is that something that can be done? If we're going to keep it open, are we going to actively disinfect these things?
If it comes down to that, I can have someone out there and take care of the rails and that. I could do that.
Well, I don't
I think it
know
would
if it
be-
comes down to it. Like if we keep it open, we have to disinfect it or we need to close it. We have
What if,
something to help this community to stop the spread.
what if you just close down the bleachers? Running around the track is no different than somebody running sprints on Vulcan Park's grass or Bain
You're right.
Park's grass or.
Right, and that's why the parks were closed. That's why things are taped off.
Well, I live right by Vulcan, and that track has been getting a lot of use. There's a lot of dog walking going on too. A lot of people walking their dogs.
I mean, you have Governor DeWine urging people to go out and visit the parks to walk and still exercise, but then you're saying that that's not what we should be doing.
No, you need to stay 13 feet away from other people.
When
that
you're
isn't what they're
running, they
saying.
create the CDC has said that as you're running, you create a slipstream, which actually creates larger distancing requirements when you're exercising. And I don't think the issue is that we don't want one person walking the track or utilizing our outdoor space. The issue is they're running as a, I assume, cross-country team, 6 people right on top of each other. They're playing contact football on the field, and we're giving them the opportunity to do that. And it's endangering our entire community.
I'll call you back.
That's exactly right, Sarah.
Hey, Bridget,
Yes.
do you think if we did some signage at the high school saying, at the gate saying, please practice social distancing or you'll be asked to leave, do you think that would suffice here?
I don't think that would suffice because the governor, even our president has said social distancing and people are still not doing it. I think if you're going to play football in your own backyard, we can't police that. We can't stop you. But I think offering people a public place to do this is just dangerous. Yeah, this is serious. These people will get very sick and you can be symptomatic.
One other thing I've also been noticing with the, I live right by Lutheran West. Something that I've seen going on there is they have their field locked. Obviously, it's private property. It's a little bit different, but there have been a lot of people hopping their fences and going on their tracks in there. So I don't know if that's something that might come as a result of locking it up. But
Well, if it's elderly people using it who shouldn't be out without masks anyways, but if they're the ones using it, they're not going to be hopping the fence too.
that's probably true. That would be something. See an elderly person hop a fence. That'd probably be a pretty impressive feat.
Yes. I just would like to strongly, for the record, say I've received lots of emails and phone calls, and I would like on the record to say that the field should be locked for public safety. If not, then we need to disinfect it on a scheduled.
Yeah, I think the disinfecting sounds like a good idea. Mary said they could accommodate that. Sounds good.
So what is the course of action then, Mayor Cooney? You had indicated that we're going to give this a try with signage and some additional things. And if people don't comply, then it will be closed. What is your timeline for determining when and if people will comply? And how will we know if they are complying?
Like I said, we're gonna have signs put up. We're gonna have, there was equipment that was there. Some of it was the schools. There's some benches that I thought were the school property. That's all gonna be put away. There's not gonna be anything where anybody could sit, anything anybody can touch. There's hurdles there. There's football sleds. All that's gonna be put away. And I've asked, people in the service department, the police department, Mary and her staff, if anybody sees people there, to call the police and we'll respond. And if we continue to get complaints, I'm shutting it down. So I, you
What
know,
is the signage? Oh,
the signage is going to say proper social distancing to be followed on these premises. No practices, group activities, or personal trainers allowed. Violators will be prosecuted. Call Fairview Park Police Department at 440-356-4415 to report violators.
Sounds like a good sign.
Yeah. And that goes up tomorrow?
I hope so. We're going to talk to Kerry Sullivan and see how quickly he can put them together.
Wonderful.
Harry, he does great work. He moves quick too. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, let us know, please, when the signs are up.
And if people see it, if you see it, let us know and call the police. And if there's constant, if there's another problem, we're going to shut it down. I mean, I talked to a lot of people who like using the train. I understand Bridget's concerns, and you know, I'm trying to balance public health and people's safety, being able to exercise.
All right, Bridget, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to know, do we have has the state of the city date been changed?
We haven't talked about it. It hasn't officially been changed, but I don't know if, I haven't talked to Superintendent Wagner about it, no.
But it will not be in April?
I think it's unlikely that it will be, but we haven't officially discussed it.
Okay, thank you. That's all. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Bridget. Greg, do you have anything for roundtable?
Yeah, one thing, I got an email that has to do with wireless infrastructure. It's talking about small cells and towers. I'm not really too familiar about all this, but it was concerned with the permitting process for wireless services. So I reached out to Mary Kay and to Walt. They both said there's no current applications or anything under review. I was talking with some people in the Justice Center about it, and they said that a few years ago there was something about wireless services being a public utility. So I don't know if that changes anything. I don't know if this just came up with anybody else, but you know, that was really the only thing to bring up. So that's all.
Thank you. Liz, do you have anything for roundtable?
I do not know.
Mayor, directors, do you have anything you'd like to discuss with council this evening?
Mike, I don't know if you want to let the directors go first. You want me to go first? Whatever your preference is.
Liz, I don't know if something happened with my my monitor, Liz, but it says that I'm locked out by the administrator. So I don't know if you have me locked out on video.
Trying to reduce the number of screens on here, but I'm putting everyone.
But it's fun. It's like Hollywood Squares. Like Maureen said, I can look down and see Eric. I can look to the right and see Bridget. I can look to the left. It's like Brady Bunch.
So all of the directors should be unmuted here.
There we go.
Unmute. Okay, so Tim, you just have yours muted because I keep hitting it, but it won't change. So I'm assuming you have yours muted.
No, I'm muted as far as my volume, but my
Tim, I meant Tim. I'm sorry. I'm getting.
sorry.
Yeah. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Are you unmuted?
Beth, can you please mute your, Beth Johnson, can you please mute your, thank you. Okay.
There you
Are
are.
all the directors back on? And we have Greg Stingle by phone, right? Greg?
Yeah, Liz, are you there?
Okay, yes, we can hear you now.
Greg, while we have you, do you have anything you'd like to, would you like to address council this evening?
Council, yeah, well, I would defer Council President Cobain and members of council. I would defer to the mayor to kind of lead off discussion with respect to finances, and then I'll add in anything that needs to be added.
Okay. Pat?
Okay, so we had a meeting earlier today with all the directors. Last week, I sent a memo to everybody to look at their finances, to start tracking, number one, to start tracking their expenditures relating to this crisis. And if any requisition comes across, their desk that's related to the crisis, to actually, it's going to be coded COVID-19, so we can seek, potentially reimbursement from the federal government, the state government, or the county. Also to track these expenses for our residents and next year from a budgeting standpoint. I also asked everybody to look at, from an operational standpoint, what expenses they can cut back, what they can suspend, or what they can delay. And we're going to be talking about that later in the week. I did have a chance to meet with Greg, and we're to look at the finances. He sent an email to everybody. The collections through the end of March are comparable to what they were last year, likely because the order from the governor went into effect the middle of March, and I suspect most people were working through the end of March, with employers not knowing how long this was going to be going on. We are, I had asked Greg for a comparison of all revenue buckets from last year and this year. I think, as he said in the email to you, there's the first week or so of April, the collections are down. A lot of that probably is related to the fact that taxes do not have to be paid until July 15th this year, as opposed to April 15th. Obviously, there's going to be expenses, the revenue is going to be down. So we're looking at everything. There's potential in not being able to provide the cost of living, the wage increases that we've talked about. We're looking at furloughs, and we're, hopefully not looking at layoffs, but that's something we are going to have to look at from a cost standpoint. So at this point, we don't have anything we can quantify to provide everybody, but we're looking at our expenses, looking at our revenues to see what we can, what we're going to need to do. And I appreciate, everybody's efforts, and, in the last month or so. It's been very stressful, as it has been for all of you and your families. It's been very stressful here, but everybody's come in working hard. We had the incident with in the fire department. Fortunately, that firefighter is back here and he's working. I appreciate Chief Raffin and his quick, suggestion in separating the shifts to keep people protected. I appreciate the firefighters for agreeing to that and putting it in action in less than 24 hours. The police department, they've been out, under trying times, keeping everybody, at ease. And the service department, they've been very busy this last month dealing with what they typically deal with, but we're treating this time as a shutdown at the Gemini. They've been in there cleaning, painting, doing some rehabilitation work. Because we didn't know the extent of this, we really didn't get into anything that would be of a great cost from a repair standpoint. But they've done a lot in the pool area, and cleaning baffles and some lighting and replacing things. And they've done a great job, and I really appreciate that. A number of our employees have been working remotely and getting things done on a very timely manner. In the building department, Walt, Mike, and Matt are still out meeting with people, making sure that social distancing is being practiced. And lastly, Regina has done a great job with her staff in keeping our seniors connected to our community and keeping food, going to them. We have 90 meals that are being delivered on a weekly, more than 90 meals. There's 90 folks that have signed up for meals this week. The food bank will be providing enough meals for 7 days for these folks. Prior to that, it was for 3 days. And every week, Regina's list seems to get a little bigger, and she's able to keep in contact with these folks. So there's been a lot going on, like there's in everybody else's life. Every day we seem to be dealing with something we didn't anticipate the day before, but we're moving forward. I'd like to thank Mary Kay and Monica for the legislation that we're going to be dealing with here later. And we're hoping to get some relief to our businesses here. But obviously, just again, from a financial standpoint, it's going to be tough. As we know more, we will let you know.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the job you've been doing during this difficult time.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for the mayor? Or Director Singal, do you want to follow up on anything the mayor said?
Yeah, I think everybody by now has received the email that I sent Friday. I forwarded the email from the Regional Income Tax Agency. They are working on an estimate. I've been in contact with Rita numerous times over the last week. As late as today, I was talking to them as well. So we'll work through the number. I understand the model that they're using. At the Regional Income Tax Agency, it's their first pass through. So when they provide the estimate to us, it's going to be significant. But again, it's their first pass through. So as we dive deeper into the numbers, it might get better and it may also get worse. So the challenge to try to forecasting this is really, really difficult. But it makes it more difficult here in Fairview Park because 54%, or roughly 54% of the income tax collections come from individuals that live here. So for example, a resident that works in downtown Cleveland pays 2.5% to the city of Cleveland, but they also pay a little bit over 1% to the city of Fairview Park. So trying to quantify what all these individuals, what their work life looks like these days is really difficult. If they've been laid off, or they working more hours, or if they've been furloughed, and been asked to take a pay cut. So that's going to even add more challenge to forecasting the reduction. So as soon as we have information, we will pass it along. Obviously, the mayor just said to you all. If there are any questions, let us know. But we have worked on many different scenarios for the mayor. Every day he asks for a couple different ones, and we've been providing them. So there will be some changes here in the very near future. Any questions or comments?
Thank you for the update, Greg. That's really good to know, and it's something that I think has been on most of our minds for the last couple of weeks. How will we continue to make the city function and provide services in an environment that is not exactly friendly right now? So thank you for doing the work you're doing, and thank you, Mayor Cooney, for asking for several scenarios a day. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions for Director Singal or the mayor? Director Costello, do you have anything to add?
Yes, thank you, President. Thank you, everyone, for your support. It's been very nice to hear the wonderful things that you're doing and saying and conveying to the public for us. We really appreciate that. And again, I want to reiterate the mayor's appreciation for taking a look at the ordinance that we're proposing to help our small businesses. So thank you for this time tonight. in the special meeting. We really appreciate that. I'd like to also let everyone know the great work that our service department is doing. We've got pump repairs that we've completed to make sure that we're protecting everybody and running our sewer system as well as can possibly be. We've added restrictors as phase 2 of our sewer protection program on Haber, Esther, Sycamore. We have grass cutting starting already, and we have personnel, as the mayor has described, in the Gemini Center, and they had finished some work in the senior center while our facilities are down. So amidst all of this work, this great work they're doing, plus they're getting tree limbs that have fallen down. In the midst of all this work, they've also been practicing social distancing. So they've been, they have agreed to separate their shifts. So the half of the population starts an hour earlier before everyone else, so that there's the ability to maintain their social distance. They've also distance themselves in the equipment so that there's not more than one person in any equipment. So they're really organizing their work well so that they protect each other, on top of extra work to wipe everything down and protect each other and ourselves in our facility. So I really appreciate that extra work. They're using the extra protective equipment that we provide for them in responsible ways, and I really appreciate that. In addition, during all of this, there's been flooding basements. So we've had Republic also announced that they were no longer picking up bulk waste and yard waste, but they did acquiesce and come and pick up some wet basement debris at various addresses in our city. But we're going to continue to strive toward some of those services being restored. So stay tuned as we continue to work with Republic to see some of those services added back into our municipal services. I also want to let everyone know that we will continue to work toward financing our small businesses. So that's an effort that we will continue to make. We're looking at different ways to secure funding and convert funding from grants into our small business program. We have called it the Fairview Park Cuyahoga County Supplemental Business Performance Micro Grant Program, and we'll discuss that more when that legislation comes up. So thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Can I just ask real fast, Director Costello? I know we've talked offline about the rubbish removal issues that we're experiencing. The number of calls and questions and Facebook posts now that are coming up with the idea of how are we going to handle no bulk week, no yard waste. Republic and other waste management organizations have said that they've seen about a 30% increase in residential rubbish over the last couple of weeks. And I know that we had a lot of residents who were barely making it with their blue can as it was, including bulk week and yard waste removal, which really doesn't start till this week. So grain of salt on that. But I just want to express again that I think that there needs to be something done here to help mitigate this situation with our residents. They're home, they're cleaning out closets, they're doing yard work, they're doing renovations. We need to make sure that we are not creating a health and human services issue here, allowing garbage to pile up. I know that the city of Lorraine announced that Republic will be picking up their bulk week. So I don't know if I know you're working on wiggle room, and I do appreciate that you're working on it. But I just do need to express again that we were dangerously close to missing the mark on rubbish before, and I think the fact that they are no longer picking up bulk or yard waste is crossing that line. So we really need to make sure that we are fighting as hard as we can or coming up with some other solution, putting a dumpster, heck, in my driveway, I don't care. Let's just go ahead and get some of this stuff thrown away once in a while. So I appreciate the efforts you're making.
Thank you. I know Law Director Riley is helping the mayor and I
As a devil's
restoration
advocate,
services.
shredding services are 4 hours on a Saturday. This would be, in my opinion, a dumpster that's available for an entirety of a week. So I do think people would be able to social distance. Whether or not they'd be able to get their garbage in the dumpster is probably what we should worry about more so. But I don't foresee that being the same issue as we have on shredding day.
Right, I agree. It just would be impossible to guide people to use it in a way that would best protect them without putting our personnel into a situation that would be considered exposure. So we struggle with how to put something like that in a public space and not have any guidance on protecting the visitors that would want to use it. So at this point, I know that Director Riley and the mayor are working with me in a communication so that we can stay on point with our vendor Republic and
I
get a
appreciate
restoration.
that. Thank you for the work.
You're welcome.
Just a quick question. Is Republic compensating the city monetarily for this, for doing away with the service?
That was my first question, was what our discount would be. And as Councilwoman Waring had brought up, they also are reporting increases in the amount of refuse that's being put into the blue bins. And so they said that there would be no discount or
There's only so much
no-
you can put
no
into the blue bin.
I'm sorry?
So there's only so much you can put into the blue bins.
That's true. I agree. But they feel that it's been an increase because people are working from home and creating more waste at home instead of in their workplace that would be considered commercial and handled by a commercial hauler. So that's their take on the matter. I don't necessarily agree with it.
No, I don't either. All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
The other directors that are online, do you have anything you want to say to council this evening, or Chief Raffin or Chief Upperman? Anything?
What order do you want to go in, Council President?
Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead, Chief.
My guys are all going out there, just like Tony's guys in the service department are. So far, our people have been COVID-free. We've had a couple of people that ended up getting tested and that we quarantined until we got back results from them. As I sent out today with the police blotter news, our calls are down quite a bit from last year. We're getting less crime at the current time, but if things continue on in this vein, what always happens then is people get more desperate, and then it's probably going to go up. Right now, this is the lull before the storm. If we continue with this shutdown like this, people are starting to get a little irritated with each other being quarantined, basically, or sitting only with the few people that are within their household, and so there's been a slight upsurge in so far nonviolent domestics going on. But all our people, with the help, Tony, Chief Raffin has made sure initially that we got the N95 masks. Since then, I got another shipment so that we have a spare for each of our officers. So we have 2 for each person. We've gotten some donations from various places for other PPE. We've gotten some masks from the schools. We got the hand sanitizer, we got wipes, we got gloves. So short term, we're good. Depending on how long this lasts, that's the whole question. Nobody knows. We did also find a vendor that had face shields that they converted their business. Cleveland Menu has converted one of their production lines, instead of making menus, since they're not making menus for cruise ships at the current time, to making face shields. So we got some of those, which just add another layer of protection for my guys out on the road there that have to deal with people, or if we bring people into our facility that we have to interview, that we have to process, fingerprint and such, where we're making them wear that stuff also. But we're responding to any calls. We're trying to be out there checking businesses that are empty to make sure people aren't taking advantage of it to break into businesses where there's no longer employees inside of it. So we're kind of treating it like night shift normally does that at nighttime, where they'll check businesses and check the doors and make sure there's no damage to windows. Now we're doing it all the time because these businesses that are not essential. So that way we're kind of keeping an eye on that type of thing. We do need people, instead of putting stuff on social media, to notify us when they do find problems. Right now we've been taking the soft approach where we're trying to gain compliance rather than arrest people or cite them. But if we have to, or we have repeat offenders, or we have businesses that are not complying with things, then we will take enforcement action. We've only had 2 prisoners in the last little over a month that have come into our facility. We had no choice but to take them in because of their condition at the time. And all the jails are trying to keep the jails as empty as possible. Ours is just a little small thing. So having 0 is, it's been a good thing, because then it's also less for service when they have to clean up and sterilize, sanitize everything afterwards. But we're trying to do everything we can. Our people are a little nervous, but they're, with us getting protective equipment and us doing everything that we can, I think that they feel that this is the best of the situation currently. And we went to the 12-hour shifts at the beginning of the year, and kind of like what Chief Raffin has done, where you have people separated, it's kind of helped us, where we have 4 platoons of 5 people that they are the only ones that work together on that particular shift or platoon. So it's kind of, the 12-hour shifts are helping us in keeping separated. The only time that anybody else is working with them or coming in is just at shift change. And we're doing everything we can to phase that in, kind of like the service department is, where they come in at different hours. We're not doing it quite as pronounced, but they're trying to limit who's in the locker room at a certain time, get ones in, get them on the road. They come in and read the log afterwards, and they swap that out so that we don't have everybody in one spot at one time. If you have any questions on anything, I'm more than willing to answer anything you have.
Thanks for the update, Chief. Chief Raffin, did you have something?
No, I was just going to update you guys as to what we've been doing. We actually got a pretty good jump on it because of the situation we're, pushed into with one of our members having a positive test. So we've been running 2 different stations, as most of you know, since probably right around March 20th. It's divided with 3 guys up front, 2 people in the back down at the senior center. And for that, I really do have to thank Regina Sillison for giving us a big part of the north end of the senior center, which really dubs pretty perfectly into station number 2. So essentially, it just keeps people away from each other all the time, and that's the biggest goal. On top of that, we've had to manage several people getting tested, and obviously being out for the day while those tests come through. We have 2 retirements that are going through and have happened. One happened already, one will happen next month. We have 2 new hires that have come on to replace those retirements. So it's really just a logistical nightmare with all that going on. And then on top of that, constantly downtown at the EOC down on 93rd and Quincy, talking to the County Board of Health, Cuyahoga County Board of Health, Cuyahoga County EMA, and getting the CDC briefings on pretty much a daily basis. So if there's things that you need, or if there's resources that you need, there's not a whole lot, as most of the directors are aware at this point. But if there are things that you need, you can just pass it on to me, and I can just put it through the EOC and try and get it that way. But otherwise, it's business as usual. For us, it's really not as big of a deal. It's another bloodborne pathogen, or an airborne pathogen that's no different than anything else that we're dealing with. So whether it's hepatitis or HIV or the bird flu or H1N1, it's just the flavor of the week. Unfortunately, it's going a little bit more than that throughout the globe. So we're just addressing it day by day and tackling it as it comes.
Thanks for the update, Chief. Walter, Bridget, did you have anything you wanted to say this evening, or?
Thank council for everything. I'd like to say that our department has not really slowed down. If you guys have seen Lorraine Road and the old, the new Highland Dental and the Preppy Pet Store get a new facade. Those guys haven't slowed down. We're out there almost every day. But one of the things the school has slowed down basically to a halt. So we've asked them if we could reconvene in the next couple of weeks, probably around May 1st, see if we can go back out and get them moving back again. A lot of stuff there. Stopped at a pretty good point. I mean, all the structural's done, finishes are going in, but that one has freed up our time to keep ourselves at a good pace to keep up with the Lorraine Road. Also, the old Anytime Fitness, Onyx Fitness, we were ready to issue a CO there, but they can't really open yet anyways. I mean, we've got the paperwork ready to go. They continue to work through this. So big residential projects going on. A lot of fences I've reviewed the last little while. We got a house still waiting on the final plans on 227. We really haven't slowed down that much. What's been great is Megan and Leanne have been, fantastic with some of the computer work from home. Megan's almost exclusively at home and email and phone to us in the office. Leanne's been feeling safe enough to come in, and we're in our office. We're still wearing masks. We do have a drop box outside, and it really hasn't been any inconvenience to any of our residents or contractors either. They're dropping stuff in the Dropbox while I'm talking to them on the phone, or while they're emailing me that they dropped something off. Able to pick up the checks, able to pick up the applications. It's really been an exciting time for us to move into the 20th century even. And our time, we're all being safe. Matt Kiley has not been doing any of the property maintenance, like walk in the streets. He's only been going out on questions from residents and so forth on that, but he's still been doing our complaint inspections. I've been out a few times. Michael Greer's been doing almost all of our inspections, and he's doing everything safe. There was one resident wouldn't let him in with his shoes on, and he wasn't going to take his shoes off, based on what could happen to it or anything like that. But we've done it in apartment inspections before, where we have booties to put on our shoes. But those booties, we only have a couple pairs, and to take them in and off before we go into everyone, we can't do that either right now. So, we haven't done any of the rental inspections on the single and two family rentals, and we've postponed all the apartment inspections that would usually be due by now. So, other than that, we're keeping up with them, and all our residents still aren't afraid. They're still investing. It's been great. Our businesses, we're looking forward to the ordinances you guys are working on tonight, but the businesses are still going good. So I appreciate everything that our council's done for us too. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt. Director Riley, Director Solson, do you have anything? If not, that's fine too.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I think, this isn't our normal committee agenda, so it's I appreciate all the updates tonight. It's these are strange times. So,
I'm sorry,
yes.
Mike. I do have a few things I want to say. I'm sorry, I was having a hard time unmuting my phone. Anyway, I just want to let you all know that we have all the seniors that are vulnerable on our radar, And up until now, since the beginning of this, we've delivered almost 900 meals. And starting this Wednesday, the Western Reserve has extended my contract to allow me to deliver 90 people, 18 pounds of shelf-stable meals per week, which would make approximately 5 meals. So each senior is getting 7 meals per week, which is the cap for the Western Reserve. But it's a great service they're doing for us. I'm sorry, my mind was just on a break. They're just doing a great job with doing the stocking all these shelf stables, which I know they're being called on from all areas. So the food bank is just fantastic. But I do want to ask all of you, if you know of anyone that would need meals, please let me know. I have a few extra spots. I ordered a little extra, so to allow for any additions. And also, while we are doing this, every day staff is calling our most vulnerable seniors that are isolation problems, the ones that live alone, ones that are caretakers for their partner, seniors with any health problems, and a lot of seniors have no extended families. So we are checking on them on a regular basis, but those are the ones we know of. So if you know of any additional people that you want us to check on, please let us know, because my staff really, really wants to just make sure everyone is in a good shape and has everything they need. So and I want to thank Tony for his firefighters. They're wonderful building mates. They're very, very nice. And it's nice to have them. And I really appreciate all that the departments are doing to come together, because we are really all in this together. So thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Thanks for the important work you're doing, taking care of our seniors.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else?
Mike, this is Eric. One other thing I forgot to mention, last Thursday, two of our lieutenants, Lieutenant Mike Wickus and Lieutenant Paul Shepard, took the written portion of the chief test to make sure that we have a succession for when I retire later on in the year. Both of them did very well, scored well. And 1 month from now, a little under that, they'll be doing the second portion, which is an oral assessment center, where their ability to perform will then be gauged by a panel of chiefs of police. And then the 2 scores will be weighted accordingly, and then we'll have whoever's going to be the new chief after I leave. Just wanted to share that with you.
Thanks, Chief.
Mike, if I could just real quick, if you don't mind.
Mayor, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just want to thank all the directors. Everyone's been very resourceful, in these trying times. Greg put together, the ability for us to go work remotely. Chief Raffin, is, out asking for supplies for all of our departments. Regina, things constantly change with her, and she's adapting. Everyone, the service, everyone's just been fantastic. In addition, we've had a lot of great community partnerships. Talked to a lot of the local clergy here, keeping up to date with what they're doing, and they're plugging in some of the gaps that we're not able to fill. Been in contact with Superintendent Wagner and his staff, and they've really done a great job in communicating to our residents in the school. So I just want to thank everybody again. These are trying times. I appreciate everybody's efforts, and I appreciate their patience and their hard work. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to thank everything. I would like to thank Liz for putting this together tonight. This is, it's been
That's
great.
another example of resourcefulness there. Thank you, Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
And thank you, Liz. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thanks, everybody. And yeah, I'd just like to stay, everyone stay safe and healthy, and our residents as well. And like you said, Regina, we're all in this together.
Yes.
All right, well, if that's it for committee, we will start the special council meeting now.
Okay.
Everyone ready? All right, we'll begin the special council meeting of the City of Fairview Park for April 13th, 2020. Can we have a moment of silent reflection? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Simile,
Here.
Mr. Minnick. Hold on, he's muted. Mr. Minnick,
Speak up, Bill.
roll call. Mr. Minnick. Mrs. Adler.
Here.
Mr. Kilbane.
Here.
Mrs. Waring.
Here.
Mrs. King.
Here.
Mr. Berger.
Present.
All right. Does the clerk know of any written communications, petitions, or claims related to the subject to be considered this evening?
We had one, and I believe that was covered under committee. It was from Mrs. Hammerly, basically asking about the, hold on, I'm trying to bring it up here. Okay, yes. She was asking about the ordinance on the agenda for authorizing the administration of the SBA grant funds and how the businesses will be notified of the availability of funds. If there's a specific list to notify, or will it be by general public notice? I did respond to her and told her that while I don't have that information, it may very well be explained by either the mayor or someone who is administrating the program during the meeting tonight. And if not, then someone will follow up with her to give her that answer.
Okay. And if she's online right now, I'm about to ask for any audience input. So, okay, is there any audience input on legislation that is up for passage this evening? Mrs. Hammerly, if you're out there.
Yes, we are. Go on, talk. Thank you. Liz already asked the question for me. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll begin our legislative process for this evening with legislation up for passage without 3 readings. Councilwoman King.
I would like to place ordinance before council for emergency passage.
Would the clerk please assign a number and read the title?
Ordinance 2011, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to distribute grant funds awarded through the Cuyahoga County's Small Business SBA Small Business Performance Grant Program for the purpose of providing to local businesses that are impacted by COVID-19 and authorizing the mayor to receive and file all documents and execute all agreements necessary to award said grant funds and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman King.
I move that the charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simile,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick, Mr. Minnick, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
And the motion carries. Councilwoman King,
I move that Rule 53 requiring reference to committee be dispensed with and Ordinance 20-11 be placed on final passage.
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simile,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2011, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2011?
Mr. Simile,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick, Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2011 passes. Okay, the chair would like to place a resolution before council for emergency passage. Would the clerk please assign a number and read the title?
Resolution 2006, requested by Council President Kilbane, sponsored by City Council as a whole. A resolution encouraging the United States Congress and the Ohio Legislature to enact legislation that will prohibit bond rating companies from downgrading their ratings of municipalities due to conditions caused by COVID-19 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Move that the charter provision and Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage. Somebody want to move that?
So moved.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simile,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick, Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Motion carries. And the chair moves that Rule 53 requiring reference to committee be dispensed with and Resolution 2006 be placed on final passage.
So moved.
Have a second? Have a second?
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simile,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Did I miss you, Mr. Cobain?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you missed me, if you got cut off. Yes, though, yes. All right, so the motion carries. Prior to call for passage of resolution 2006. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of resolution 2006?
Mr. Simile,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Okay, resolution 26 passes. And that concludes our legislative agenda for this evening. Pursuant to Fairview Park Charter, Article 4, Section 7B, and Council Rule 5, no other subjects will be considered this evening. I wish you all a safe weekend.
So moved, Council President.
Okay, all right. The chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Will the clerk please call roll on the motion to adjourn?
Mr. Simile,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Council is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay
Thank
safe.
You have a great night.
Thanks.
you for your time. Be safe, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
You too.
I just shut it off.